Hello, this is Dr. Christopher Endrinal, and this is the Break It Down Show.
Hell yeah, man. I know that when U2 does something new, and they've been pretty busy the last few years, I'm going to get a chance to talk with you. Always a delight to talk to you. I know that you have a
Thanks for having me.
PhD in U2 basically, and so you always think deeply about these things, and it's a thrill ride for me. And so if everybody else will indulge us, let's talk about U2's new effort.
Yeah, Days of Ash. Well, like everybody outside U2's inner circle, I was surprised. I didn't expect anything from them. I didn't hear anything about this EP coming down the pipeline until I was it was actually my son's birthday that Wednesday, and so it was my son's 13th birthday that Wednesday. So my wife and I both took the day off of school and let him have a day off of school. So we had just finished breakfast. I just finished making him, his favorite his favorite homemade waffles and bacon, and I was like, let me just check my email just in case, and then I opened up my computer, and all of a sudden I was like, wait, what did that just say? You two dropped some new music, not just a single, not just one song, but a
Yeah.
whole, but an EP, like fresh music, not a reworking, not a guest star. No, it's and so I was like, oh, excuse me, I got to take an hour to listen to this, and very happy about that. Very well. I mean, happy as a diehard U2 fan that U2 released new music, but even happier that the music is. I think it's great, and it's great for a
Okay.
lot of reasons.
The I guess the place to start is when was the last time a major band released an EP? Like these are almost a passe. I don't want to say it. It used to be a common thing, right? And you and I
Sure,
can both
sure.
discuss several EPs U2 has released in its career. But why do you think they made this choice? Was it to be fast, first to market? I mean, you don't got to beat anybody with an EP. You don't have to do that to introduce your band. Why an
Right.
EP?
I I think because it hasn't been done. U2 is always doing, what hasn't been done or what hasn't been done in a while. That's always U2's MO. To keep it fresh, right? That I mean, Bono and the band are on record saying, they're not going to do anything unless it feels fresh and contemporary, and and it gets attention. Um, and so, and in these days of streaming, right? Like, what is an EP anymore? Like, what is an album anymore these days?
Right.
Like, what is an EP versus an LP versus a single? Because lots of singles that come out have 3, 4, 5 tracks on them, so they're not exactly short plays either, right? And so just to, I think, to not just call it Days of Ash, but call it Days of Ash EP, like that moniker EP is in the title of the collection of songs.
Yeah.
I think you bring a good point, that it's calling attention to, I don't know, an old format that may be new again, right? And I think part of it has to do with U2's notoriety for working really slow in the studio, and so most of these songs were already written and were already being worked on, but to write American Obituary the day after Renee Good was murdered, and then
Mm.
to write that to write that song, and then to record it and produce it, and then include it with other songs in just 6 weeks for this band is unprecedented. And I think it shows that they're still in it, and they've still got it, and they've still got it, not just from a songwriting and a musical standpoint, because they've always had that, but they've still got it in terms of cultural impact, in terms of timing. You know, um,
Mhm.
they're on record as saying that these songs are of the moment, and I
Mm.
think by releasing an EP, it brings that fact to the fore, right? It's like, these songs couldn't wait for an LP, and these songs are too important for just quote unquote a single.
Yeah.
So to make it an EP, right, it gives a little bit of a little bit more weight to it, I guess. Commercial weight, anyway. There's plenty of artistic and musical weight in these songs, but in terms of commercial appeal, because that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And I think it works. I think it has worked.
I think so too. I mean, it's charted.
Yeah,
internationally, right?
yeah,
And so
yep,
in this day and age, holy shit,
yeah.
that's incredible.
From
What?
a band that is going to celebrate its 50th anniversary
Yeah,
in just over 6 months. 50th
yeah.
anniversary, original lineup. Name me a band that has done that. That has
ZZ
been
Top.
around this long. The original four members
Yeah,
this long and is making music that
yeah,
not only charts but is this is a culturally and socially significant release. There,
yeah.
I said it.
Yeah, no, you said it, and really, like, honestly, the best I could do is ZZ Top, and they're not that band anymore, right? Because they did it for so long, people died. But yeah, I mean, the list is short. It's
Right.
really short for that kind of thing. Does that matter? Maybe,
Yes.
like,
Oh, I absolutely think it matters.
okay,
Yes, because yeah,
why?
well,
Okay, why them and not the Rolling Stones? Yes, the Rolling Stones have had some evolution, but it's not like it's like a conveyor belt of talent coming through all the time.
right. Well, this is this kind of music, protest music, because that's
Mhm.
what Days of Ash is. It's a protest EP.
Right.
Um, the 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 political messaging behind it is what catapulted U2 to stardom in the first place, right? You think
Mhm.
back to, yes, Boy was great. October, lukewarm sophomore, but still very U2 and still very post-punk and still unique in its own right. But it really wasn't until War that people were like, "Oh shit. Oh, this band." Because not just because of the sound, but the sound is what gets people's attention first. But then once they start listening to it, it's the messaging on War, and it was the explicit messaging of this is bullshit and we're not going to stand for it. And to do that 43 years later, hello,
Yeah.
right? And it surprised everyone. Surprised the record industry. It surprised, I mean, my U2 circles on social media are still going apeshit for this. This and these songs are all I've listened to for the past 2 weeks
Yeah.
because it's new music from an important band. This band, whether you like them or not, whether you appreciate their music or not, it doesn't matter. This is an important band, period, because of what they've done commercially, because what they've done for socially, because of their fan base spans multiple generations now. So, you cannot deny the import of U2, regardless of your personal feelings about them.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. You choose job in many ways. So there are many bands in one band. They're this long time band. You can almost call them an early boy band, if you wanted to go down that route. But they have been together forever. They have sort of figured out what their voice is, but they have many voices. They might do an album of duets or something, and you'd be like, "Of course they did," So they're allowed to be rangy because they've been so rangy throughout their career. We've talked about the different eras of U2 and all that kind of
Yeah,
thing. And for sure, I mean, they're the last standing political band of any kind of import. There are a lot of political acts out there, but up at the top of the mountain, up on the top of Olympus is
this is it.
U2. So they're still, yeah, and they're not supposed to make us feel comfortable, right? Yeah, we're supposed to be like, "Yeah, dang it, like this makes me
Right.
uncomfortable." And that's the whole point. This is what Pete would say. That's the whole point of the art. You don't have to agree. You don't have to kind of agree. You can disagree. You can anything, but you have to discuss these topics. We've got to figure these things out. And I mean, back when they first released Sunday Bloody Sunday, it was a significant challenge
Yeah.
to the thing that was going on back then. And we had to
Well,
figure out how to deal with that. Look where we are now with that conflict, the troubles, etc. Go ahead.
sure. Well, I mean, the one of the purposes of art, and that's lowercase a, right? Art in general, and
Right.
uppercase a too, right? One of the purposes of art is to stir emotion, one way or the other, right? If you're indifferent to it, then the piece of art didn't do its job. Every piece of art, whether it's a piece of music, whether it's a sculpture, whether it's a poem, whether it's a play, it's a novel, it's a short story, it's a dance, whatever it is, it's supposed to stir something in you. And regardless of what it is, you are not supposed to feel indifferent about it. And if you do feel indifferent toward a piece of art, then it either didn't connect with you in the right way or the art didn't serve its purpose. U2 is on record, not just for this EP, but they are on record for the promotional stuff for this EP as saying this is going to ruffle a lot of feathers and we may lose fans, and that doesn't matter because art isn't about winning or losing fans. It's about
Yeah.
chronicling what's going on. Art is the story of human history. And so this band making this music is a chronicle of this time. Like, we know exactly what happened on January 7th, 2026. And we know to whom it happened. And we know why it happened. Why? Because this band made this song.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is one of their jobs, right? Is the social
Yeah.
commentary. And they have had, maybe they don't have it now, but they have had a unique ability to get beyond the political part of the conversation and more to the human side of the conversation. So even if they come from a left side of the aisle, they're good at getting the right side to say, yes, let's deal with AIDS in Africa. Yes, let's
Right.
forgive debt. And these
Right.
are human issues, is what I'm ultimately trying to say. So yes, their car comes from the left. You're like, oh, here comes U2 and their lefty ideals, right? But then they show up and they're like, hey, can we feed some hungry people? And you're like, well, fuck yeah, of course, of
Well,
course.
right, because
Get
feeding people is not a left or a right
right.
thing. It is a
Yes.
human thing, right? Yeah, and
Yeah.
you know, Bono is most proud of his political work when he has reached across the aisle, the
Yeah.
proverbial aisle, and has worked with people whom you would never think would work
Yeah.
with a person like Bono. And that's where artists can and should use their cachet. That's absolutely the point of having that kind of platform. And
Yeah.
you know, there are a lot of people who wish Bono would just shut up and sing, but again, to y'all people who think that, you're missing
Yeah.
the point.
Yeah.
That Bono
Yeah.
will never shut up and just sing because you'll complain when he sings about it anyway. And
Yeah. Yeah.
that's and the point of his singing is to get us talking about all of this. That is
Yes.
the point.
Yeah.
And it gets us talking about it because we're uncomfortable about it. That's the
Yeah.
point. And
Yeah.
you, yeah, you know, a song about someone getting shot down in broad daylight is uncomfortable. But
Yeah.
it's supposed to be uncomfortable because if it's uncomfortable for us listening to a song about it, what about the family who's dealing with the fallout?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
The whole thing, the conversation, right? How do
Yeah.
we keep the conversation going? Because when we run out of words, then we do get to fighting. And sometimes fighting is the answer, but we can't start there and we got to do our
Exactly.
damnedest. And one of the things that we're compelled to do is to focus on tolerance. And it's easy to not tolerate the thing I don't like.
Oh yeah.
That's like I don't like that. And so we always run to like, well, what about Nazis? You know what? You either practice tolerance or you don't. It doesn't mean you condone, doesn't mean you support, but you can tolerate it. And so when you have these conversations about the social condition of America or whatever it's going to be, it's not supposed to be comfortable. It's an act of
No.
tolerance. And then when you
Yeah.
sit with it, you understand where you can get comfortable with all this stuff. And I do appreciate that. And the lyric of all of it, it gives you a chance to consider things. And Bono's great at the turn of phrase.
Oh,
I'm a fan of a couple of my own turns of
he's on
phrases.
he is on point on this EP.
Yeah,
Lyrically.
no, and it's a good mirror, or a good way to consider something. Like I like this is one of Pete's turns of phrases is is it a fate? Is it a twist of fate, or is it a fated twist?
Mm,
These are different things,
yeah.
and the best example of a fated twist is the end of Apocalypto, where you have the rug pulled out from underneath you, and here come the
Sure.
conquistadors, and you're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
what the fuck? I just went through this whole goddamn thing for 2 hours." But it
Yep.
says a lot in that because here comes this fated twist that the the Aztecs and all the folks and shit, they didn't know
Yeah.
that was coming, and it changed everything. So the when Bono uses that mechanism with his words, and obviously by now he's just a master craftsman with when it comes to words. He's well read, obviously, and when I hear him when he writes, I'm gonna shut up here in a second, but when he writes these songs, I'm like, I wonder what he's reading right now, because that
Oh,
stuff
sure.
leaks into his wordsmithing.
Yeah. 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 Oh, I mean, that's it's funny because when I listen to new U2, well, new music in general, but with U2 specifically, it's always the sound that I'm drawn to first. Like, what does it
Okay.
sound like? Just
Yeah.
and the feeling that the sound gives me. The lyrics are what I come to last. The
Okay.
words, because lyrics for me, um, it takes a while for them to sink in. It takes a while for the references to for my brain to make the make the verbal connection. But sonically and aurally, man, that's what I gravitate to first. But the lyrics on this EP are, Bono was never really gone, but Bono the songwriter, Bono the aspiring poet, even though he says he's running his mouth off again, um, he's on point. He does some fine work on this one. I mean, Tears of Things. It's Tears of Things is the song that I'm warming up to last, just because
Mm,
it's lyrically the most complicated. Because you know, from my experience with U2's music, there are songs that are sound songs and songs that are word songs or lyric songs, right?
right.
And Tears of Things is first and foremost a lyrical song. It is all about Bono's words and Bono's vocal delivery. Yes, the band does their U2 thing to support that, but his turns of phrase, all those internal rhymes that he uses in Tears of Things. It's great lyrical work. And then he has turns. Well, he has turns of phrases in all these songs, right? Like, I love you more than hate loves war. Just that rhyme back and forth, and
Yeah.
the use of love for both positive and with hate. That's clever. And the power of
Mm,
the people is stronger than the people in power. Like that I think that little flip there too. It's a classic U2 political attitude in a
yeah.
classic U2 political line. You know, I I love I love American Obituary. I absolutely love it. Like, from the first chord strum, I was like, "Ooh, listen to that punk!" Like, it was immediately 1976. Like, it
Yep.
sounded Ramones, Sex Pistol, and
Oh,
then Edge's new guitar comes in. I'm like, and there's modern Edge.
yeah.
So within the first 15 seconds of it, we got, oh, okay, this is what's happening here. U2 is calling back to the attitude of early 20s U2, but with an urgency of 2026 U2. I mean, Adam's bass line, I mean, that man has been doing some studying. Adam
Yeah.
is doing homework, because his bass lines lately have just had an attitude and a funk in them. Like, his lines always have a punchy quality to it, but um, like, there's a sense of in your faceness about Adam's bass lines recently that
Sure.
I love. I love, and of course, it's really good to hear Larry back, and Larry's doing
Yes.
his Larry thing. It's hard to describe Larry's drumming, um, but
Yes.
you know,
Let me. I don't want to get too far past a couple of these things. So when I listen to most stuff on YouTube, which is where I listen to music, I always listen at 2 times speed because usually it's like a speech or something. And it came out, and I'm like, "Oh, is this a Ramones ad?" Like, and then I'm like, "No, wait, this is that." Because sometimes the ad will play right before,
yeah.
and it was because it was 2 times speed. I'm like, "That's Ramones," and I don't even know which song it was, but it was downstroke, 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 super fast, and I'm like, "Oh, this is the song." Oh, they've picked up something from the Ramones and kind of U2ified it, and then, like you said, it totally changed into the newer texture
Yeah.
and a very very U2 thing. I think I wanted to say also about the band is, I've been trying to figure out through talking to a bunch of artists, what is new wave, right? And this is kind of going back to the beginning, right? And
Yeah.
another Chris, he was in Adam and the Ants, and he's a great music producer, kind of become a friend of the show. He said when we were doing this, we wanted to be something new. So it was the fashion, it
Mm,
was the rejection of guitar solos, it was all these new things that were like not Black Sabbath, not Led Zeppelin. And so it was
right.
to make this new thing and new approach. Hey, we have all these new instruments. Let's use these, all these synths and everything else. And so U2 is also a great new wave band, and they do push things to where they are uncomfortable and they figure it out. Then they go back to the rock and roll roots and everything. So I wanted to say that. And then the other thing I want to talk about was the first thing I noticed was like, oh, this is Larry wants me to pay attention to him. I heard the
Yeah,
bass lines and I'm like, these are different. This isn't two fingers on the top string, Larry, which is that, and I
yeah.
love that Larry too. This is a much more I don't know. How would you if you were going to give it one adjective, which Larry are we getting this time?
You mean Adam?
I'm sorry, Adam. Sorry, yep,
Baseman.
Adam.
Baseman. Yeah.
Adam. Yeah.
I think we're getting a funky Adam, which like playful's not the right word.
Right.
But he sounds like he's having fun. His bass lines have evolved. He's an artist, and he's an artist who's not deaf, right? So he's listened to lots of music over his career. So yes,
Yeah.
the way he's playing is not. It's well beyond just the string of eighth notes, right? There's a rhythmic interest there. There's there's just a funk there. Like he plays with the octave a lot, right? Like his lines are very disjunct and jumping up and down a lot. Just very different from the bass line of Streets or With or Without You. I'm not saying it's better necessarily. That's not a quality judgment. It's just a different style.
Yeah.
But it's still very Adam. And again, it's without getting it's a little bit difficult to describe the rhythm section of this band without getting uber technical and boring people to sleep.
But it is they are unique. I mean,
Yeah, oh yeah,
every
for
unique
sure.
every section is unique, but their approach, like when I talk to drummers, I'm always trying to figure out. I know to say the words, and it doesn't have to be true. I don't have to even hear it, but I can say name a drummer, Chris, any drummer. Just name any drummer you want.
Carter Beauford.
Oh, deep ass pocket. That's all you
or
got to
Sugar
say.
Sugarfoot Moffat.
Oh, deep ass pocket. You get excited. Deep ass
Right?
pocket.
Oh
I,
man.
I don't know what that means, right? And I defy drummers to explain it in a way that they all go, yeah, that's it. It's a thing you feel. And so if you say Larry Mullen Jr. and I go, oh, deep ass pocket, you're like, what? What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I'm not saying he doesn't have a deep pocket, but he's different. He defies
he
that
is.
stuff.
My
But when that
I have a no. Go
when that
ahead. Go
rhythm
ahead.
section hits, the song goes to the moon. It's every
Oh yeah.
single
Oh,
time.
it does. It does. I was talking to my percussion colleague at
Yeah.
at school, and he knows that I'm doing work in U2, and every time I mention Larry Mullen Jr., he gets his face like, oof. He is
Yeah.
so, and he used the word in pocket. He used the
Okay.
words in pocket to describe Larry Mullen Jr., which I was like, I asked him, so what exactly do you mean by in pocket? And he just like the precision that Larry Mullen Jr. has. Like he's
Mm.
so tight and he's so like he stays so within what he does. And what he does is unique. If you know what to listen
Yeah.
for, Larry Mullen Jr. Sounds unlike anybody else, partly because he had kind of an incomplete training. So, part of how he plays is kind of wrong.
Right.
Like he kind of uses the wrong hands sometimes. But he's always in time, and um, he has a unique voice behind that kit, and
He
it
sure
it
does.
it
Yeah.
contributes mightily to U2's unique sound. There are bands that sound like U2, but to quote that line, there are many like them, but this one, they are one of one, right?
Yeah. 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 And Larry is one of the drummers that can come up with a unique drum part as often, if not more, than anybody else. It's one thing to play like there's all kinds of U2 songs where you hear drum lines that are common things, but there's plenty when no, this is a unique way to approach playing drums and it's hooky as hell. So there is
Oh,
something
oh
in
yeah,
quality, but you never put him like the top 100 drummers. They never have Larry
no,
Mullen Jr. anywhere near the top, even though he has all these signature drum fills and just approaches to things. He really is a tremendous drummer, and it's wonderful to have him back on the kit.
yeah. Well, I don't think he's listed high on best of lists because he's not flashy. Like he
Mhm.
does exactly what U2 needs their drummer to do, right? Because when you have a guy like Bono out front,
Yeah,
and then to his right is the Edge.
Yeah.
You know, like, what are you going to do? There's no
Yeah.
way that you can wrest attention from those two. So what you
Yeah.
what you can do, and what you should do, being in the basement, is provide a foundation that is so rock solid that Bono and Edge can do whatever the hell they want to do, and it'll still be grounded. It'll be grounded in that mid-70s rock aesthetic.
Yeah.
Yet, you know, Bono and Edge can do their soaring thing, and
Yeah.
Adam can kind of bridge the gap and be that funky interloper that
Will you let
connects
me try something here?
Edge and drums.
I had this thought the other day because I'm always trying to figure this out because U2 is it is hard to describe at times, right? Because they're all these things, and those things are U2. So Bono and Edge are a trapeze act.
Mm.
Adam is the trapeze, Larry is the net.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
No one notices
And
the trapeze in the net until you need them, until Bono
right.
falls into it on purpose, and you're like,
Exactly.
oh my
What are
god,
you watching? You're watching the two people, you know, catch and flip and
Yes.
jump.
Yeah.
You don't ever
Yeah.
think of the bar, and you don't ever think of the
Right.
net, because
Yeah.
if you're thinking about the bar or the net, then you're not
Yeah.
you're not paying attention to the right thing, right? And that's
Yes.
exactly
Yeah.
what the band wants you to do, right? And if you think
Yeah.
about their personalities, that's exactly how the personalities line up. You know, Bono is the consummate showman and frontman.
Right.
Edge is the scientific lead guitar. So yeah, he's out front, but he's, you know, his part is always subsumed under the umbrella of, does this make the song better? Right? Never out for individual glory, because he knows that that's Bono's job. And then we have Adam and Larry, who are there providing the safety net and foundation. You know, one that is unique because they are a rhythm section that's been together for half a century. And so
Jeez.
the energy between them, the
Yeah.
chemistry between them, is unlike the chemistry between any two other people in those roles, because of what they've seen and what they've done together. And you know it when you hear it. It's one of those things that you know it when you hear it. And that's what made, you know, Bram's tenure behind the drums at Sphere so great, because he captured a lot of Larry Mullen's essence, without, you know, of course it was him, but he did a really good job saying, all right, I'm not Larry, here's a little bit of Larry for you.
Yeah, watching them live in the Sphere. By the way, they also did the Sphere.
I know, right?
And all the people who hate Vegas and hate new things are like, it'll never work, it's gonna suck. And I'm like, buy the stock now while it's $19. It's gonna go up. It has gone up substantially. No, it's not working. I'm like, you know what? Metallica's got a residency. It's working. And these bands,
of course it is.
I've thought a lot about this and talked to people I know in Vegas. Like, yeah, of course they love it. There's no gear to lug around. They don't have to pay 500 people to do all this stuff. You just come, you plug in or not, whatever. And then I don't want to make it sound easy, but like you're living out on Lake Las Vegas, take a helicopter to the hotel. Like, it's a pretty sweet gig, you know, if you can fill that big ball. And that big ball is tough.
Well, yeah, you know, especially that place was made for performances, right? It's not an arena that is multi-purpose, that can shift its shape. No. This is made so with 168,000 speakers, right? Like, yeah, you can plug in, but you know, the artist on stage has to be on point. Because guess what? With that many speakers, precisely tuned, we're gonna hear when you fuck up. And you know, like, I heard U2 make mistakes, and it was great to hear that, because it's not like live performances aren't supposed to be perfect. And to hear that roughness there, to hear the human element, and with those accompanying visuals that are just mind-blowing, you know, that space is awesome. And of course it was U2 who had to open it.
Yeah. Well, they're big enough. They're big enough.
Yeah.
And they aren't afraid of the technology side of it. You know, they've led in that for a long time. And they understand. It's like when I love pipe organs. And so when you have an orchestra pipe organ, it is like a gorilla playing with like baby ducks, you know, and the violin player is like sawing away, and then the pipe organ's like burr, burr.
Yeah.
So that theater is a gorilla. And so you've got to be able to saw away at the
Yeah.
violin to stand up and to play back because it will swallow you whole. That venue is so impressive that you can forget there's even a band there at all easily.
Yeah. Yeah. There's nowhere to hide,
Yeah.
right? Like literally and also artistically, there's
Yeah.
there's there's nowhere to hide. So you have to plan the show accordingly,
Right.
and practice it. But we've seen that when you do it right, oof, oof,
Yeah.
I mean, game
Yeah.
changer, right? Game changing.
Yeah. 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 So the new EP comes out. You got these tracks. U2 has shared some writing credits, which is always interesting. Again, they're not afraid to kind of break the mold and everything. Are any thoughts on Yehuda? And I've never heard his name said out loud, so I know Yehuda, but Amachi. I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, I've only
Amachai.
read it.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've only read it. I haven't seen it. I haven't heard it pronounced.
I'm gonna guess it's Amachai, but it could be Amichai. It could be, but the
Right.
word chai is in there, so I'm gonna stick with that. That's a big guy. But he gets a credit for his poem and everything. So this is not an unknown thing from YouTube, but they don't often share writing credits. Usually it's contained to the
Right.
band.
Right. I think it's great, and I think again it highlights the contemporaneous character of the Days of Ash EP, and that yes, U2 is the main act, and because U2's name on it, that's how it's going to get attention. But
Right.
this is about and ultimately for everybody but U2, right? So these songs are about um, Renee Good and about the protests in Iran and about the conflict in Gaza and about
Mhm.
the war in Ukraine. And so I think it's absolutely poignant and respectful that they give writing credit. And
Yeah.
I think because they don't often do that, to do that now on this EP, I think it's the right thing, and I think it's part of the message of the EP as well.
And then Ed Sheeran weasels
I
his
know,
way in
right?
and gets himself a writing credit.
I know. One of my students, one of my freshman students, says she had never heard of U2 until she was in my class, and I was like, first of all, that is blatantly false, and I know you've heard a
Yeah.
U2 song, even though you didn't know it was U2. And second of all, one of their new songs has Ed Sheeran on it, so maybe that'll help you. And she's like, "Oh, I know Ed Sheeran." I was like, "But of course you do."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
And
that
U2's great
track,
at that. Yeah.
yeah, that track, "Yours Eternally," I love it. I love it
Okay.
because it's the antithesis of American Obituary, right?
Mm.
It fulfills its mission the same way American Obituary fulfills it. And Yours Eternally is the pop song of this EP. And um, some of my YouTube friends have called it, very Coldplay-esque. And I'm like, well, yeah, because Coldplay is a direct musical descendant of U2. And as my wife likes to say, Bono has a Messiah complex and Chris Martin has a Bono complex. Um, but you hear the poppy side of U2 on Yours Eternally, and it goes a long way to showing the range of this band, because it starts off sounding like 1976, and then the EP ends with it sounding like 2026. That's remarkable. And I think the tone and the the lightness of Yours Eternally matches what the song is supposed to espouse, right? I mean, this is the hopeful U2 and the brighter U2. This is the U2 of Beautiful Day. This is the U2 of City of Blinding Lights. This is the U2 of Where the Streets Have No Name, right? Um, and I love the writing perspective. The first half is written from a soldier's perspective on the front line. Second half is from his friends back home, right? And so, you get that dichotomy of perspective. And I mean, Bono has some, I mean, chef's kiss lines in this one. Like, if you have a chance to hope, it's a duty. I mean, if that's not the most U2 line there, that's ridiculous. It's our duty to hope, meaning
Mhm.
we have an obligation to maintain a light of hope. Oh my God, like that's great. You are not lost out there because you are not alone. That line brings me to tears every time, because that captures the the hopeful side. Those lines capture the hopeful side of U2, and that, I get asked a lot why such a fandom of U2, and chief among the reasons, first and foremost, is because however dark and however acerbic U2's tone is, they always, always, always do it from a place of hope, because hope is not ever lost with this band, no matter how dark the day is. And you hear
Yeah.
that hope on Yours Eternally. You
The
know,
Tears of Things is, for right now, my favorite song from the
yeah.
LP, and look, you know how YouTube, at least for me, but, and I think we've discussed this, it's kinda time release for me. I'm like, all right, I've sat with these things, let me
Mm,
sit with them some more, let me listen to them some more, let me consider it, yeah, and then I slowly layer in, like, what's happening, and then I figure out what my experience is. It takes me a while, but I know YouTube well enough to know, "Hey, these gloves are gonna fit great, but for right now, I don't know what to do with them, so I'm just gonna kinda look at them and sniff them and see whatever, and then I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I love these gloves."
yeah, yeah, yeah. Sure, sure. Same thing, right? You know, press play and I just listen first, just to see how each. So that's exactly what I did. I pressed play on Days of Ash and I just listened to the whole thing straight through, one time through, because this is a new EP and U2 is very intentional with everything that they release, and so this thing is meant to be listened through start to finish. So that's
Yeah,
exactly what I did. I didn't, and it takes a while for me to really understand this stuff, which is why I gravitate toward how does it make me feel right off the bat with the sound. Um, which is why I'm also having, the Tears of Things. It is starting to grow on me, but there's so many words, so many lyrics that are great lines in there that I need time for that to marinate with me. But like it took songs like Moment of Surrender, right? That 7.5
uh-huh,
minute, like it's like essentially live track, but
yeah,
I didn't I didn't appreciate it at first. Now though, I mean, I just it's an amazing track that I appreciate so much more now that I've had time to sit with it. Tears of Things, I think is one of those songs that I will continue to listen to it, but it'll be one day down the road to be like, oh my god, that's like something will unlock it for me. That'll be
yeah,
like, yep,
yeah,
that's it, and it is in fact brilliant.
yeah. Yeah, "Moment of Surrender" is a great song. There's a lot of great songs. That album, um, was underappreciated, you know, the
That's a
well, yeah,
hard
I don't
one.
wanna get distracted by that,
Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah,
there's some magic in there, and even if they don't nail it to, like, a 10 all the time, if you let it get there, it gets far enough for me, even when that
yeah.
album misses a little bit. But back to this, The Tears of Things is also a book written by Richard Rohr, and I don't know if Bono had picked it up. The guy's a pastor, so decent chance that Bono was given, and just that concept. I actually have, been through that book myself just b by dumb luck and
Nice.
sitting in an airport somewhere. But, I wonder if, and I don't recall much about the book, but I'm familiar with who Richard is. And so I wonder, I wonder if, Bono's sitting there in Marseille and like, "What's this book?" And then he starts reading it, and then, yeah, it inspires this whole song. It's amazing his well of, well, words, how they go together, what fills it, whether he's reading Anais Nin or somebody else, he's constantly pulling things out, and just it's not like a remix, but he's taking their colors, their things, their thoughts, and running them through his filter, and it's an amazing experience. So I didn't know if he had used that book as inspiration.
I haven't heard that, no, but it wouldn't surprise me. Bono is exceptionally well read and continues to be, and that's how he can make all these references, and that's how he's so good at these turns of phrases, right?
Yeah.
Even after all these years, right? Like he still has it in him, um, to write these lines. Like it just so good, and like the poetic device of the internal rhyme, and then the way he adjusts the rhyme scheme of his stanzas. Bono's read enough poetry that, of course, he has poetic tendencies, and I love that he's at in One Life at a Time, or no, in uh yeah, Song of the Future. He talks about running his mouth off again, right? Just and so he's well aware of um, that he has a voice, and that some people are sick of his voice, and that some people some people just want to hear him sing, and so I love that line in Song of the Future because it's very, that little self-deprecation also shows a little bit of awareness that, all right, I get it. I know, here's Bono again, but also you kind of have to hear this.
Yeah,
Also that, yeah, yes, this is Bono again, but Bono has to say this because that's what Bono does.
that is what Bono does. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you can tolerate Bono, I promise there's something in there for you. And if not, then don't listen. That's fine. I'm going to put the link up here for their little, I don't know, what would you call it? Like a magazine lit.
Oh yeah, that fanzine,
Yeah.
propaganda.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
What did you think of
Yeah,
that piece of work?
I thought that was great. I came into my diehard U2 fandom, later on. So when propaganda was out, I liked U2, but I was not a fan club member. I did not get that old propaganda. So it was nice to get a digital version of of the callback to the early '90s when these fanzines were a big deal because
Yeah.
to our internet listeners out there, this medium didn't exist, right? So ways that fans and bands could communicate with each other, and the way that fans got information about the bands that they loved so much were through stuff like propaganda. And so, this is great because it's a direct link. It's another direct link to the band, but instead of words this time, or instead of music this time, it's words and pictures. Which as a collector and as someone who likes stuff, I liked flipping through it. I would love to have a hard copy. I would absolutely love to have a paper copy of that, just to
Coming
just to
soon
flip
to a
through.
store near you, I'm sure, because that's
Yeah,
what they do.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It reminds me of the old experience of having an album in your hands and reading the artistic value, like the whole thing, consuming it, the
oh yeah,
imagery, of course, but also every word is chosen on those things. And a
absolutely,
lot of times it wasn't lyrics. It might be a missive, it might be this, it might be nothing. But when you had an album that had a really great presentation, you could sit there with your headphones on and listen and really just go on a journey and not be, especially when you're a kid, you're kind of locked in your room because you don't have the same kind of freedom as an adult does. But you sure as heck can leave. I was big into the style council. Man, you had to be thinking, you had to be reading
yeah.
auxiliary texts to keep up with the style council. So, that's what the album experience gave you. And I think that's kind of what the propaganda dot
Yeah,
com or propaganda.u2.com, what that does, it gives you a chance to see not only like their artistic expression, which is always wonderful, but the words and just the whole presentation of that fanzine. And like you, I'd love to have one laying around the house. I probably wouldn't do a thing with it, but I'm glad to give those guys my money. They've given me so much joy in my life. I'm glad to be a fan club member and support them because it's been worth it for me. There's only so many things that I can really get into, and in terms of music, this is going to be my one indulgence that I'll
yeah.
spend some money on.
Same,
Yeah,
same. And talking about you know, leafing through the liner notes, right? And I always loved those tapes and then eventually CDs whose liner notes were, like they had something you could flip through, right? Like
yes.
I don't know how many times I read the Octung Baby lyrics over and over
Oh,
again, right? And I thought it very curious that they spelled the word cuz, which is short for because, COS. And I was like, Bono, what are you doing, right? And just like it was white text on a dark background instead of black text on a white background, right? So everything about
yeah,
Octung Baby was different, and to hold those liner notes, um, yeah, like in these days of streaming music, right? Like I still buy CDs. I don't buy many CDs, but I buy CDs of U2 because I like to have the thing. I like to hold the object, and
right.
um, like you said, like everything is intentional. Every word, every
Every
image,
single thing.
every graphic is with purpose. And as a music theorist, I love trying to discover what is the purpose, right? What does this mean? Why is this here? Why these colors? Why this font? Because it's a physical thing, right? And everything is so digital these days, right? That we're so concerned with ones and zeros that to have an object is kind of nice.
It is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bono's kind of like my artistic. left the older brother, and he'll start me off in a place that I'm not comfortable with, whatever the topic is. But because he's just a little bit older than me, when I get to where my dad dies and there's challenges in that relationship, he's already been there, and I'm like, "You motherfucker. I liked it for a different reason, but you knew this other stuff
Yeah,
was coming." So I've learned to sort of trust the band in general because there's some, I don't know, there's a sinking of, like, sensibility, and
yeah,
I
that's a great
should.
way to put that.
I Yeah, and I should default to love because love is not gonna run out of power. I should default to hope because hope is a better thing to default to than, say, despair, and so all these things that even if I don't align 100% politically with where he's at, again, I can tolerate that, and I need to hear it because the mothers of the disappeared. Boy, that's the ground truth reality of
Yeah,
of what a lot of this stuff is. And so it's all like this fence, this chain link fence where you're like, this goes to this, which goes to this. These things are all connected. And so when we see government and we see brutality, doesn't matter what party you're in, when you see that, you should be disappointed. And we
yeah,
should hope and know that there's people out there trying to orient us in a better direction. And these things aren't easy, everybody. But
no,
that's one thing I appreciate about you too.
yeah. Use the word disappointed. And you can hear Bono's disappointment in the United States because
Yeah.
the country is having trouble living up to its grand potential, right? Like Bono was on record as saying, this is one of the greatest ideas ever. America, the United States of America, is one of the greatest ideas we've ever had. And because there's so much potential in that, and I can hear his disappointment in songs like American Obituary, when he's like, "You're like, you could be so much better than this. We can be so much better than this.
Yeah.
We are so much better than this." And that's why he's
We're supposed to
disappointed
be.
because he
Yeah.
knows what the potential is, and that we've had flashes of living up to that potential, but that's it hasn't been consistent. And I really appreciate that as not just as an artist, and not just because it's Bono, but it's someone not from this country who's paying attention to what's going on over here, and someone who's been so enamored with the idea of America that is like,
Mm.
come on, man, like you can do it, you can absolutely do it, just not this way, because this way is not living up to your potential, and
Yeah.
I appreciate that wake up call.
Yeah. It's also true, I imagine, that Bono is uncomfortable with how he sees America, and he's as American as anybody else. He's here all the time. How many houses
True
does he
that.
have here in this nation?
Oh, I know,
You
right?
know? And we are sort of built to be, just a running gunfight. We're tough, and we disagree a lot, and we disagree vigorously, but so does every other country in the world. A lot of the violence we see is political violence, and I've been in those worlds, and so I've seen that. Bono definitely gets to translate to us the things he experienced. He has uncommon access because he can go wherever he wants
Right.
and bring us these tales, and we need to hear them because there is a lot of injustice. And let me see if I can nail this down. When we look at what happened with Renee Good, obviously that's not the desired outcome. And when you see two governmental bodies war against each other, Minnesota trying to assert control, the United States government trying to assert control, and they're both trying to do the thing for the people, and then there's conflict in between. Someone like Renee Good gets ground up in that, and that's what we don't like. Whether you
Right.
agree with immigration policy or you agree with federal law enforcement agents coming in saying, just give us the folks from the prison that are already in jail, that already have extradition orders. And then when one government body says no and the other one says yes, and you have this rubbing, people get chewed up unnecessarily. And that part to me is the hardest part, that we
Yeah.
can't have a political discourse where we can disagree on the means. We can disagree on what it is. We do agree that we don't want criminally insane people in our country harming Americans. We can agree on that. But after that, it gets really hard. It's like somewhere between this concept and this outcome. Good people, not to be punny, good people get hurt, and needlessly so. So we have to fight against this machine that is doing things like chewing people up. but also, gosh, we're trying to go in a direction that is really tough to accomplish for whatever reason. And if we can't get along internal, if we can't talk, then well, then we have to fight, and I don't want to fight. And so
Right.
hopefully we can kind of understand some of that. And I don't know if I'm nailing this or not, but I guess there's two things we're trying to say is like me in my former life, Bono was a liminal traveler. He brings another world to us. You open
Mm.
that world up, oh, it stinks in there, right? But the people that live in that world, they don't think it stinks in there. It's their world. And so
Right.
oh, this is uncomfortable. So he's supposed to bring these things, bring them to us and pop the bubble, and you're like, oh, it's awful. And then you get comfortable with that reality, and then maybe we can all at least have some compassion or some empathy or whatever it is. I don't Not an easy exercise, but I appreciate Bono and U2 using their influence to help us deal with these things. I don't know if that makes any damn sense, but that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, I think it does make sense. And Bono's point is not Republican or Democrat,
Right.
conservative, progressive. The Bono's point is there's a better way to do this.
Yeah.
We haven't
Yeah.
found it yet,
Right.
but there's a better way to do this, and it starts with love and hope. Like that.
Yeah.
That's the message. That's the message of the
Yeah.
entire EP, right? Yes, the world's a shit show right now. It's on fire. No one can deny that. And it doesn't matter where you're coming from politically. It doesn't matter because
Right.
we can all safely say, Jesus Christ, this is crazy, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the point of Days of Ash EP is to say, okay,
Love
we
it.
have that common ground. We can all agree that this is crazy. So we can all agree that because this is crazy, what we've been doing hasn't been working. So there's got to be another way. And that other way, whatever that way is, starts with love and hope. Period.
That's fair.
Now,
Right.
now Bono's not saying it's easy. Bono's
Yeah.
not saying it's going to work overnight. Bono's not saying that, that it's going to be a quick fix. He's not saying any of that. But what he is saying is that there is a right perspective and a wrong perspective. And the right perspective starts with love and hope. Period.
Yeah.
Whatever the method is after that, if that is your foundation, we will find a way. And that's been U2's message since day one. And that's
Yeah.
that's my favorite aspect of U2. Period.
Yeah. I love
That's
it.
that
I love it.
that's why I've connected so much with this EP because I'm like, this is unvarnished U2. This is U2 saying, okay, we spent the last couple albums like reflecting on ourselves, which you know what they were
I get
entitled.
to. Yeah.
Yes, of course, but we have a unique voice when it comes to stuff like this, and now we got to use it again. And so here it is. And I was like, thank you, because we need all the
Yeah.
voices saying this stuff.
Yeah, we do. We do need voices. And again, the art is not supposed to always make us comfortable. When
No,
we had Andy Summers on the show, he's like, "My job's not to be by you where it's normal. My job's to be an artist and way the hell out there. You'll find me when
right?
you're ready." You know?
Exactly,
It's like,
exactly. Yeah, which is again why I applaud you two for doing this because
yeah,
they're in their mid 60s. They should be thinking of retirement, right? Like pushing
right.
boundaries at 65 is not what
Yeah.
most people do. But
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah.
they've always had this fire in them. They've always had this creative energy, especially when it's the four of them. And
Yeah.
I mean, this EP is a perfect illustration of what happens when their energy um, is when their energy combusts at just the right time.
Yeah. Well, they make music that matters, they make art that matters. And that really, in terms of being commercially successful, that's all that matters.
Yeah,
Is to push the bounds of things with your artist heart, and then if you can manage to sell things, there's nothing better than that. It that's incredible. I mean, we know about some of these awful regimes and the terrible things that happen in parts of the world that we can have big thoughts about and big angry opinions about, but he and others go to those places and have an understanding of the humanity even in these inhumane places. So I
yeah.
appreciate that aspect of them. What are your thoughts on the upcoming album then? Is this a hint at where they're going, or what are your thoughts?
Well, not according to Bono. I mean, Bono has said that the album is going to be lighter and more hopeful, which actually is good. I think the tone of this EP needs to stay with this EP. Um, and I'm glad that Bono is actively talking about the new album. I think he said, you know, they're focusing on 25 songs right now that are trying to make the cut. And you know,
Yeah.
if you know, he's talking like, I get the sense that he's talking about this new album in a very all that you can't leave behind kind of way, where
Hmm.
you know, may not necessarily be a stylistic return because you can never go back fully, but in terms of a thematic return to, you know, the grandiose hopefulness of U2 and the the U2 of Beautiful Day, right? And the U2
Yeah.
of Elevation. It's just like, I got a guitar and I got my mates with me. Let's fucking rock. And
Yeah.
I'm excited for that. I'm
I
excited
like it.
for that.
Do you think there's going to be a stadium tour, or do you think it'll be a arena tour?
They're due for a stadium tour. Um,
Yeah.
you know, because the last one was 360. Then they had
Yeah.
Innocence and Experience and Innocence were both indoor, smaller arenas. I mean, actually, they had Joshua Tree, which was outdoor.
Yeah,
But
that's
you know
true.
that,
Yeah.
but that was, you know, that was, I don't want to say greatest hits, but that, you
It's
know,
heritagey though, for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
a little bit. You know, it did do its own thing. You know, with that giant screen, that Ultra HD thing, that was, you know,
Hmm.
brilliantly amazing. Like, to see there, to like to be on the floor, GA for
Yeah.
Joshua Tree, and then just, oh, that was crazy. But they're kind of due for a stadium tour, and I think maybe Bono might be itching to be like, to have U2 go big again. I think that's what I'm. I don't know. That's what my U2 Spidey sense is
Yeah.
tingling
Yeah.
for.
Well, okay. So this is another thing I've thought about is you have the conundrum of U2 wants to take care of its fans, but there are so many fans. Like it really broke my heart a little bit when I couldn't get tickets to the Sphere, and I had to like
Mm,
scramble to figure that out. I
yeah,
have
yeah,
gladly paid for a while. I maintained two fan subscriptions. I'm like, I'm just going to have two. You know,
right.
just because, like, why not? I don't care about the books, and I don't care about sure, put it in a pile. I don't look at that stuff really, you know. I'm just there to
Right.
support the boys. But man, I was like, I couldn't get tickets, so I had to spend a lot of money. And again, it's U2, so I'll do it. But
Right.
I don't know what they do about that because if you don't charge market rate, someone else will.
Yeah.
And the robots destroy the ticket market because now you're like, I don't even have a chance. I
Right.
don't even have a
Yeah.
chance.
Even with the subscriber specials and early access, right? They're
Yeah,
it's. I hope they do something about that. U2 are big enough and have been in the game long enough that, you know, if U2 decides to do something about it can be done. I
yeah,
don't know what the
yeah.
solution is. I don't know what kind of
Not
technology
me either.
or queuing. I don't know, but there has to be a way to avoid, you know, $1,000 ticket
Yeah,
prices. It's just like, you know, I'll pay a couple $100, of course, right? Like, because it's an
yeah,
event, you know. But like, when it creeps up past $500 for, you know, nosebleed, like, come on, man. You know
yeah,
what I
and no
mean?
control over the nosebleed, like shitty nosebleed, you know, or
Right,
whatever it
exactly,
is. Yeah,
exactly. You know, like,
yeah,
at the very least, you know, the subscriber special should have real benefit. Like, okay,
yeah,
we know the bots are going to overtake it, but we know how many subscribers we have. So for the number of subscribers we have this many of whatever ticket is a badass ticket,
yeah,
and it's just
yeah,
for this pool of people, right? Like, that I think has some value. I like all the collectors books and stuff, but I've only come to recently
yeah,
appreciate them since I'm doing my research. But you know,
yeah,
like the affordable ticket price, that's something that all U2 fans, regardless of
right.
diehard or, oh, I'm new to it, that's something that all of us could really appreciate.
Yeah, and one of the challenges is that Ticketmaster is pretty god awful, you know,
Oh
they're
God.
I mean, the rate that they charge, and they've got that monopoly locked in, you know, like, I don't wanna come harm their business or nothing, but you can't tell me it cost me equal value to 1 ticket to
Right?
process this thing in a day and age of
Seriously.
1% processing fees, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I get it. They got to make money, but it feels like taking too big of a bite. So, what is a fair price for a decent ticket? Like, let's say you're GA on the grass in a stadium. What's a fair price
Hmm.
for that? Do you think? For you too. I'm not talking about somebody, but you too.
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, GA comes with its own thing, right? And you've done
Hmm.
the GA thing, and so for the people watching and listening out there who haven't done GA at a U2 concert, I don't know what GA is for other people, but
Yeah,
GA at a U2 concert takes on a life of its own, right? Because those who wait for the GA at a U2 concert, like those are folks you we wait all day.
yeah,
I've waited all day, right? But it's worth it to get close. And you like be prepared to talk U2, like serious U2 all day long. I mean,
all day long.
all day long. And like
Yeah,
when I talk serious, what I mean by talking serious U2, there are collectors out there who will chew your ear off about the collectors. There are the musicians out there who will chew your ear off about the music out there.
yes,
There are the concert goers who are like, well, yeah, this is my 50th date on this tour, who will chew your ear off about
right,
every tour date out there, right?
yes,
Um, it
yes,
is not for the faint of heart from a fan perspective, but also physically, right? Like it takes some stamina to do GA to wait all day. Oh, and
that's
then by the way,
true.
you got to do the concert, which is 2.5 hours
Hmm.
of on your feet, like
Yeah,
constant thing. It's an amazing experience. For GA, what would I pay for GA? I mean, to like for the close stuff, um, 150, 200. If it's
yeah,
GA out in the back, like that's not inner circle.
hmm,
That shouldn't top out at more than $100 because
yeah,
like you're in the stadium, but you don't have that great of a view, and you're standing
right,
all night. Like you shouldn't have to pay a lot of money for that stuff.
yeah,
Now, of course,
yeah,
all this depends on what they do at the stage, because is it going to be a 360 thing, or is it going to be a Joshua
yeah.
Tree thing, right? Is it going to be
B
traditional,
stage,
or
all that. Yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. But for GA to get up close, I would I you know
Yeah.
I, I would pay
Yeah,
two
and I
hundred
think
bucks,
I
but
mean, you can charge
I'm a diehard.
150 and millions of people are gonna complain about it, but I think that's a fair price for that show because they're putting on, I mean, as good a show, if not better than anybody else can do. Maybe them and, like, I don't know, you can only think of a few bands that put on a comparable show that you get to
Yeah,
see. So, yes, the band is there, but, like, oh, I don't just think of any bands that do incredible. Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden's gonna put on a show, and you're gonna be like, "Holy
right.
fuck." They made Eddie into a velociraptor, and he, like you're blown away, right? And I'm not being funny about this, everybody. I'm being serious. Like those guys take
Oh,
time, and
sure.
like if Pink
I would love to
Floyd
see
was to
Metallica. Oh
somehow
my
come,
god. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
or Metallica
hell
too,
yeah.
yeah, Metallica,
Oh,
Iron Maiden, all those guys, they do that, and so yeah, there's some value in that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like if Pete was going to solve it, like, do you want to opt in to buy tickets? They will cost no more than $1,000, or no less than 1,000, no more than 200. And we'll just give you the best four seats available. I would have stopped in and say, I'll take two for these dates.
yeah,
But
yeah.
also, hey, you
Right,
can't buy if you want to buy like the tour pass. That's a different thing. You got to go in a
right.
different line, right?
100%, 100%.
And
But for
and
like single
so
show
just
tickets, yeah, like I don't see how someone should be expected to pay $950 for like a mid-tier
right,
seat. I like
yeah,
even at Sphere, which Sphere was an amazing
yeah,
experience, but come on,
yeah,
folks, like that's
yeah,
ridiculous. That's
yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was compelled because I didn't get early access things, even though I've been in the club forever. I had to go through their VIP experience,
Right.
and I didn't feel VI.
You were just
They
a
gave me
P.
like a lanyard with a piece of paper attached to it. I'm like, what does this do? Well, that's your keepsake. Like, oh, because it says
Oh, oh,
VIP.
thanks.
No,
Yeah.
nothing. Okay. And so and like, oh yeah, I mean, I get the chance to spend $800 a night on a king size bed. Look, it was great. This No knock on Vegas, they got to make their money, but I would have picked a different experience. And I can do different things in Vegas, but I wanted that full
Right.
thing. I'm not complaining too much, but not everybody has the. I don't have the wherewithal to do that.
Well,
I
sure.
stretch
Most of us
myself to
don't.
do it. Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I was glad to watch the Sphere all night. That was part of it. That certainly
Yeah.
paid the bills. We had a great time. We came back and did it again, but it cost less money the next time because I didn't do the VIP experience.
Right, right,
But
right.
yeah, I don't know what they do. And also, by the way, U2 deserves most of that money. I don't want to give $2,000 to a different corporation or
Right.
someone who
Exactly.
has a robot that buys tickets because now they're
Exactly.
making U2's money, and that's not fair to me
Right.
either.
Right. And
Yeah,
that's why I don't mind, like the exorbitant prices of all the merch that's at
yeah,
concerts. I'm
yeah,
like, well, the merch and this is where the band makes their money. They don't make it from selling CDs anymore and
yeah,
and from streams. That goes all to Island, right? So,
yeah,
like $60 for a t-shirt is ridiculous.
yeah,
However, occasionally I'll pay that money because I want to commemorate this event. But
yeah, yeah, yeah,
most people can't do that,
yeah,
and I think
yeah.
most people should at least be given the opportunity,
Right, right.
right?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
just yeah. So
We
I'm
walked
hoping.
into the Sphere. Go ahead.
No, I'm hoping for a great album, and I'm kind of hoping for a stadium tour. Kind of.
Okay,
I
okay,
don't know.
yeah. When we walked into the Sphere, the first show that we went to, and it was early in the run, they were handing out like Bono's fly glasses, for
Oh
just out
yeah,
of the
yeah.
box. It was great. And I reached my hand out, and the guy's like, "I just ran out," and I'm like, "Oh, for fuck's sake!"
Oh man.
Like every time, like I've been around, I've seen a lot of shows. I'm here, and then no, nope, no payoff
Yeah.
again. So U2, they don't know me shit, but there's all these little moments that can break your heart a little bit. And you're like, "Oh man, get it right." So here's my pitch. Here's my pitch to U2. They watch
Nice.
sometimes, I'm sure. Um, can you give us a shirt wizard where we can design our own U2 shirt?
Ooh.
Because I don't
Ooh.
particularly care for most of the shirts that are there. Also, some of the old concert shirts would be awesome. I had that
Yeah.
black Joshua Tree shirt with the gold Joshua Tree on
Oh,
there with
sure,
the
with the
red
with the
U2 logo.
wings. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah, it was so good. I don't think it was any wings. This was just a shirt, like just
yeah.
Joshua Tree slathered on there with the red U2. How I remember it, man. I love that. I would love to buy another one of those shirts, and I'm sure maybe they'll run that again. But it's always like extra slim, and I'm like, no, I'm a man. I wear man size shirts.
Yeah. You know, that's what I appreciated about the 2025 subscriber gift. It was a hoodie, but it was a hoodie that actually had some color to it. It was a black hoodie, but it had all those
Yeah,
different logos, and I'm like, oh my god, blue and yellow exist in this band's color wheel. Of course it does. So
yeah.
I was just happy to get something that wasn't like all black. But
I
a
hated that
t-shirt
thing. I didn't
maker.
want it. I chose something else 'cause I didn't like it. Like, yeah, it's so like that's the thing, right? Like, let me choose. We have the ability to do this. Let me choose my own
That's a
U2
good one.
experience.
That's a good
I
one.
had a great one that I had from I don't know, one of the tours, but it was a zip up sweatshirt. Man, I loved that thing, and I wore it all the time until like
Yeah.
it was worn out. But yeah, I would like a little more control over that so I could pick my clothing experience. I
Right.
don't
Right. Right.
most of the things they pick, not for me. And that's fine, but we can do anything today when it
I
comes to
know. I
clothing.
know. Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a
All right,
that
I don't want to bug you
that'd be
too
a cool
much. What
idea.
else do you want to say?
Oh, that I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled. Of course, that U2 has released new music, and as a scholar
Yes.
and interpreter of their music, that's always a good day, right? But I'm also thrilled that I think the music is really good. I love
Yeah.
American Obituary. I love Yours Eternally. Um, uh, Song of the Future is really starting to grow on me, especially Adam's bass line and the lyrics for the Tears of Things I'm starting to understand them, and so I'm over the moon that there's new music. I'm really thrilled that I like the music. I think the music is really good. I think the music is important music, um, and it makes me really hopeful for the end of the year that for this new album. I don't expect it to sound like this or to have the same attitude, but the band, it sounds like, are in a really good creative space, and
That's good.
as U2 fans, we should be real excited about that.
I know I am. My buddy John Crotek. Thanks for watching, John. And thanks for everybody
Thanks,
else who
John.
watched. I appreciate all of you guys. I'm supposed to now say, hey, if you like the show, like and subscribe. You guys know this, right? So just do whatever you do. Or even better, down below me scrolling by, that's the PayPal link. You can go to breakitdownshow.com and you can just say, I want to support Pete. And you push that button, throw a couple bucks at me each month. I'm supposed to ask for this. You guys should know this, but all right. And then, by the way, go check out Chris's work. Chris, where do you want people to go to find your work?
ChristopherEndrinal.com will work. I haven't updated in a little bit, but some of my work is there. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram.
That's true. And if you can't find them and you want to get a hold of them, let me know and I'll send you an email and get you guys all connected. Try to keep it serious, you guys. Come on. All right. Anything before we wrap it up? Otherwise, everybody, I'll see you all in a few minutes. I've got Amber and Mike Cote back on the show. Anything to close us up, Chris?
Days of Ash is great, and it's looking to be a really good year for the U2 community. So giddy up.
Yeah. All right. I'll come back and say goodbye to you. Everybody else, I'll see you in a few.